London and New York City are basically under surveillance, and obviously been the targets of terrorist attacks in the past. There are a lot of themes in this film, but do you think there's ever really a need for a full-time, limitless surveillance?
No. No, I think it's a fascinating question, and I don't think there are entirely, despite my facetious answer, easy answers to it. I think that dilemma that faces modern democracies isn't going to go away anytime soon, which is, as citizens, how comfortable are you with what the government is doing on your behalf to protect your security? And if they're breaking the law in order to protect your security, are they threatening to undermine the very thing that they're claiming to protect, basically? And I think that they are some pretty sharp issues which are facing both our countries right now. And I think that recent events with the Edward Snowden material has thrown that into very sharp relief in this country.
Right. Okay. So I'm a big fan of Stephen Knight. I love his work. And apart from the surveillance society, another theme of this film is the hidden evidence, the so-called secret evidence that the government has to keep secret to protect the public. Right. Now, I have my opinion on that. But is there any reason whatsoever that should be allowed to happen? Is there ever really a need to say we must keep something away from the public for their own good?
I think that there are occasions where the Crown prosecution's case that actually revealing evidence is going to put the lives of certain members of its units or agents at risk. That may well be the case, and so maybe there is a case in favor of it. I understand their case, you see, but I think that the difficulty is that it allows the system to be exposed to the possibility of corruption or the possibility of undermining the nature of due process. If you're arrested for a crime, it's the most basic thing in the world that whoever has arrested you has to present the evidence of the case against you. Otherwise, how can you possibly defend yourself? So if you're in this slightly surreal situation where the government goes, we know it was you, but we're not going to tell you how we know it was you, you're left playing this rather odd game of blind man's buff. You can't actually defend yourself. And the presence of a special advocate who's allowed to see the material in a closed courtroom, but then is not allowed to speak to you from the second that they see it, it creates a slightly Kafkaesque situation. I understand completely the reasons behind bringing the system into operation in that way, but especially having spent a lot of time with my friends in the legal world, there are concerns about what it could leave the system open to in terms of potential corruption seem very real to me.
All right. You've got a spectacular cast here.
Wonderful
Bana,
cast.
Sienna Hines, Rebecca Hall, Tim Broadbent. Talk about casting these actors, and what was it like to work with them?
Well, it was amazing to work with them. They're a lovely bunch as well as an incredibly talented bunch. So it was a very happy set always. And Eric and Rebecca happened to also be very funny. So it was lively on the set. I come from the theatre, so I guess working with actors is the chief pleasure of my job. I adore it. And keeping them central to the filmmaking process and keeping them happy in the middle of the set is something that I work very hard to always guarantee. Casting it, I can honestly say, and I hope you can see that it was lovingly cast right down to the smallest part. That we tried to define with, in a very crisp fashion who every single one of those characters were. And one of the great things I think about what Steve gave us to work with is that you see all sides of London. You see all the different worlds within London, from the legal world right down to aspects of the Turkish community over in East London. And that's one of the things that he's always been able to do very well in some of his scripts like Dirty Pretty Things and Eastern Promises, which is to actually show you a familiar London, which is actually a secret London within the London that you know. And here he's done it with the legal world,